is live as well on the free Odyssey app on this, what day are we? Tuesday? It's a Tuesday.
No, it's actually the day after Monday, Craig. Oh, it's Tuesday.
It's Tuesday.
It's Tuesday, yep.
Don't do that to me.
Sorry.
Don't confuse me. How could I forget what today is? I can forget what day of the week it is. I'm focused on the fact that it's Rachel's birthday today, so happy birthday to my wife, first lady of the Hoffman Show, occasional producer, segment producer of the Hoffman Show.
Yep.
Amongst her many skills.
Cook
Today,
for the show as well?
yes, she has cooked for the show. She's brought cake to the show. She's brought shenanigans to the show.
Yes.
Remember my birthday?
Yes. And those glasses. Do you still have those glasses? Did they
No.
make the trip over from the old apartment to the new one?
Oh, they must have just gotten caught up in the wash. I was scrolling back through my Instagram today to try to find some stuff, and I saw that video, and I was like, wow, what a silly goose I am.
Yes.
But you know what? For the sake of entertainment, these are the things we do. Coming up on the show today, Kyle Kuzma. Yeah, that Kyle Kuzma. Fresh off his 32-point performance last night in Detroit, Wizards get a win, their third of the season. The Pistons are so bad. But the Wiz, nice little win. He also did some pretty cool charity work while he was back home in Michigan, so we will talk to Kyle coming up at 5:30 today. Yeah, 5:30. Lynnell in studio at 5 o'clock for Overreaction Tuesday. But, Anthony, you know the drill. It is a vibe check Tuesday. So we must take the pulse of the fan base. And really, I'm hoping today we don't find out that there is no pulse, because we plan an hour of this, and if y'all don't call, I don't know what we're going to do. So do you have a pulse? 301-230-0980. But I'm not going to lie, Anthony. I've kind of shifted gears, and I'm a little bit excited for these final 5 weeks. More so the final 4 than this weekend. This weekend might be a massacre. But I've, totally mind shifted to, maybe it's to trick myself. Perhaps it is self-preservation, because we have to do this show every day. This is our job. There are much harder jobs. It sure beats, frankly, anything outside right now. It's so cold out. And it beats many other jobs that are not talking about sports. But this is not going to be an easy month of content for us as we try to provide and prescribe meaning to a football team that is just got to play out the schedule until all of the things that we know are ultimately going to happen, front office changes, coaching changes, etc., happen. And I am kind of excited about it because I actually think there's some opportunity to do some real evaluation. And I think this change of defensive coordinator opens up that vault a little bit. I think that we need to find out who can play and who can't. And there's obviously some contractual stuff that is going to come into play as well. And, we'll highlight some of those things. I think there's this very fan-driven narrative right now of everyone's on the table. But for instance, if we go to the contract status of Daron Payne. Let me pull up Daron Payne's contract real quick. Daron Payne contract, because he signed it this year, which means he got a big, gigantic bonus, and a lot of that money is going to hit next year. If you trade him this offseason, there's $46 million of dead cap money. And there's some of that perhaps would go to the new team. But at the very least, you have the prorated signing bonus. So $20 million of that, by doing my quick math. And again, this is the Hoffman Show where we don't do very much math. But $5.6 million a year in signing bonus proration over the next 5 years means that, or the next 4 years, is $20 million, $21, $22 million. Once you add in, it's 5.6. So point being, you can't just be oh, we got a good offer for Daron Payne, let's trade him. I would need probably 2 firsts to get off of Daron Payne, because I'm going to have a lot of dead cap money and I'm giving up a great player. So it's not just oh, well, Daron Payne this. It's no, there's extra factors on top of just can the guy play or not? But by the same token, offensively, like there's a lot to figure out. There is a lot of role stuff to figure out, like what positions are you really trying to add at all around. And for those reasons, I'm excited to see what we can see these next couple of weeks. So that's where I'm at. And we got a couple of calls already lined up. Should we take one now, or should we? Should I get say one more thing real quick and then take one after the break?
You can take one.
All right, let's go to Jim on line one. He's on the Ace Law listener line, 301-230-0980. All right, Jim, what's up? Get us started on this Vibe Check Tuesday.
As soon as I was about to put Jim on, he dropped. I'm not sure if he got nervous. I'm not sure what happened.
I'm going to say Jim's a strong fella whose phone betrayed him. That's the story I'm going to invent about Jim.
Yep.
Let's try JT. Let's go to JT on line two. JT, you get us started on this Vibe Check Tuesday.
What's up, fellas?
What's up, JT?
I'm good, man. The vibe right now is, number one, coming off Thursday's loss, is definitely disappointing and embarrassed, especially with them getting turkey, before the game was even over. But at the same time, excited, sort of what you just said in terms of being in that whole evaluation process. Number one, seeing what we have seen. I think Sam has shown a lot, but like I was telling a couple of my boys, I'm still open to us selecting a quarterback, and I think if we get one of those top 3 picks, there's no reason why all options shouldn't be on the table. And I feel that if they feel May or Caleb Williams are better options than Sam, then that puts us in a position where we could trade Sam for additional picks potentially. Plus, draft time is always kind of fun, and it's also kind of fun to see exactly who we'll get as a head coach and as a general manager as well. So, disappointing, another season down the drain, but excited of what's to come with a new ownership group.
JT, thanks for the call. I mean, I agree with that. Like with the new ownership group, that's the difference between now and 2019. Let's say it's like, oh, you're just gonna hire another probably suboptimal GM and another suboptimal coach. Turns out they did the same in one, kind of. They gave Ron all the power, and it was like, okay, well, we got a guy who's never had this much power before, and a guy who's not really been that great of a head coach. Cool. And that was as good as you're going to get because, Dan, now you could be the most attractive spot on the on the board. I mean, the Chargers and the Bears are going to be very, very attractive spots, especially if the whatever coach thinks that Caleb Williams is, what a lot of people think Caleb Williams is. Then the Bears become super attractive because you have the chance to get with that guy and be his coach and hopefully take him to new heights or to great heights. Obviously, you've got Herbert locked up in L.A. That's a pretty good deal. But here, I think you have the best ownership situation, which is super important. You have a ton of assets. You either have Sam, the ability to trade Sam, and a top 3 to 7 pick. And so I think there's just a really good chance to do something special here. And you have a lot of talent because this team, that is the thing about a team that's underperformed is the talent stays. And some of these guys are going to be free agents and all that kind of stuff. And I think that's something that we need to kind of get our arms around is who's definitely staying and who's definitely going. But there's a lot of potential here. And getting through these next couple of weeks is going to be made easier by thinking about the potential of what's to come down the road. 301-230-0980. A couple of calls in the queue, if you will. A couple of lines still open. So go ahead and give us a ring on this Vibe Check Tuesday. We're talking to you on the Ace Law listener line next. is live on the free Odyssey app and streaming live on YouTube at the Team 980. Anthony, I might have fallen off in telling people that they can stream the show live on YouTube recently because I got a YouTube comment the other day. Actually, no, it was on the station. It was on 980's page. How come I didn't know the station had a YouTube page? I was like, I don't know. We say it literally every day. We stream
Every
live
day.
the whole show every day on YouTube. So if that's something that's new information to you, guess what? You got show highlights. You got the live show. You got all kinds of stuff on YouTube. You got 60-second recaps from Denton Day. You got pregame Wizards locker room content from Lynnell. There's all kinds of stuff on YouTube. So make sure you subscribe to us at the Team 980. We continue on this Vibe Check Tuesday on the Ace Law listener line, 301-230-0980. If you're in a wreck, Ace Law helps you get a check. Call 8888 Ace Law. Let's continue the calls with Greg in Gaithersburg. Greg, thanks for calling. You are on the Hoffman Show.
Yeah, I appreciate you taking the call. You know, I think with the changes we had, we got to, we're talking about the draft. Quarterback to me is not a priority. Sam's young. He's solid. He may not be a Hall of Famer. He may not be a franchise guy, but he's solid for right now. He'd be a lot better if he had better protection. Play calling to me is a little up and down. Don't like some of the play calls. But again, EB is new. I mean, he's dealing with new people. They're adjusting game plans to the talent that he has to work with. It's not like Kansas City where he had a Mahomes and those guys were, had top-notch players. So he has to have time, too. We got to focus on getting some beef up front. I mean, these guys, whenever you see offensive linemen from other teams, these guys are huge. Our guys, look like they're a JV squad out of high school. So, it takes a little bit of time. People got to be a little bit patient. I remember when Otto Graham was our coach, then we had George Allen and people like that. And, yeah, we won Super Bowls, but that didn't happen overnight either. So they have to have a little patience with these guys, and I think it'll work out great.
All right, Greg, thanks for the call. Anthony, I've heard a lot of criticisms of the offensive line. I haven't heard small yet. I haven't heard look like a JV squad. Chris Paul is 6'4", 324. Let's see. Sam Kuzma. Oh, could they put these in alphabetical order? What are we doing? Oh, they're in alphabetical order. Okay, there we go. Kuzma is 6'6", 309. So I guess they're not. Neither dude's 330. But they're big dudes. Tyler Larson's like 330. That dude is huge.
Yeah.
Now, Nick Gates wasn't very big. The problem is they don't know how to pick up a stunt or a game to save their life. Yeah, Larson's 6'4", 335. The problem is they communicate terribly, and that they don't pass stuff off, and they're often not really seem to set up in successful positions in the run game, and I hate the run scheme so much, and yeah, there's a lot of stuff. I will say one conversation that I think is interesting, been having this with a couple of people, is Eric Bieniemy is a first-year play caller, and I think sometimes like we say that and then don't actually think about what that means. And the thing with Eric is like he's going to be better next year wherever he is than he was this year because he's going to go back in the offseason. He's going to learn and self-scout and hopefully improve on the things that he struggled with this year at times. And some of that is personnel related. If I was a team with stud tight ends, I would consider EB for sure. But going back to the first main point of Greg's call that I actually think is worth fleshing out a little bit more is I also agree that quarterback is not a priority, but it is the ultimate. If you have a top guy, you should take it position. So let's say they lose out and they wind up with a third pick, and obviously Chicago is going to take Caleb Williams 1 or Drake May 1. And let's say whoever winds up 2 is like, yeah, we want Marvin Harrison. Like we drafted our quarterback last year or whatever it may be. And it's a team that for whatever reason is not in the quarterback market. which, considering the other team, it's right now Carolina's the worst record, New England's next, and both those teams are quarterback needy. But I don't know, maybe the Patriots go on a little winning streak here. Who knows? Maybe Carolina plays better without Reich. Point is, let's say, and that costs Chicago, obviously. Let's say, or Chicago's like, you know what? If we get Marvin Harrison, we're set because we can get more out of Justin Fields. We still believe in him. And so if that's the case, and they want to build around him, and maybe they even trade down and be like, yeah, sure, someone trade up. I guess at that point they'd be trading up for quarterback. Point is, if one of the guys who's at the top of this draft you think is a Hall of Famer at quarterback, you have to take him unless you think Sam is also a Hall of Famer. If not, I personally would not take another quarterback. And I have not done the QB evals to know who is and isn't at that threshold. So this isn't me advocating for keeping Sam over, Caleb Williams and Drake May, or just those two are the exception or whatever. I don't know where that line is yet. I haven't done the evals. I haven't read enough stuff. I haven't watched basically any of these guys. So I'm not advocating any specific thing. Other than Sam Howell's very good right now. And if you look at the last two drafts, there's two, maybe three guys you can make a case for that are better than Sam in the last two drafts at the quarterback position. Obviously, C.J. Stroud is better. And for the people that do not want to agree with that because they think Sam is somehow better than C.J. Stroud, please never get in a position where you get to evaluate quarterbacks. C.J. Stroud, better player, done and done. The two guys that are then more debatable are Brock Purdy, who's in system heaven, but has executed that system at as high of a level as basically anyone has since Kyle's been there. And like his big time throw numbers are one of the few guys that actually like rivals Sam. Like Brock will make some throws. Now, they're often pretty easy compared, based off of this great play action and this great design, and he's got a great O-line. And like, I'm not saying his job's not way easier than Sam's down in, down out, but like he's pretty good at maximizing it. And the points are there, obviously, in that they're scoring 30 a game on a regular basis. But Brock Purdy, I would say, has probably been better and more consistent than Howell over the last couple of years. He's had like one or two genuinely bad games, a couple of like not great games, but plenty of like, oh, Brock Purdy threw for 330 and everyone wonders if he's good games. The other guy's Kenny Pickett. And I know that sounds crazy, but his PFF grade is higher than Sam's the last couple of years. Now, some of that is Sam's had a couple of really, really bad games that bring down his grade, such as the Buffalo game, right? And from production standpoint, a game like the Dallas game turns out to be pretty crappy. So Sam. I would take Sam over Kenny Pickett in a heartbeat, but he's the only guy that even gets to get mentioned in the discussion. Every other quarterback who has been drafted in the last 2 years, definitively worse right now than Sam Howell. The one guy who gets an asterisk is Anthony Richardson because of injury, but he has, had a long injury history at Florida, hasn't played a lot, and then got hurt multiple times this year. Same injury, getting re-injured. But, we don't really know what he is. So if you're banking on one of these guys that's not an A-plus prospect being better than Sam Howell, like, you are crapshooting this. And that's also why, for me, like, Ben Johnson's the guy that I would want as head coach. Because you take a head coach or an offensive coordinator who elevated him from a guy that Sean McVay couldn't win with or didn't feel like he could win a Super Bowl with, to a team that is, 16-5 in their last 21 games? That's good coaching right there. So at the end of the day, I think the Commanders, whoever winds up being in charge here, head coach, OC, GM, they need to seriously think about what they're doing at quarterback. Because if you all of a sudden give Sam a better offensive line, an easier job down in, down out schematically, more support from the run game, and a defense that makes the offense feel less desperate in terms of needing to score, and another year of experience, and another year of chemistry with Dotson and McLaurin and whoever else winds up staying, I think you're looking at a pretty good situation, and you can use those top draft picks to beef up the rest of your roster, as opposed to saying, like, we got to take a quarterback, and then you're down one pick, especially on a roster that is depleted of elite players. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app. All right, we got a couple of calls on deck. We will get to those immediately following the break, but we do have some lines open, so give us a buzz on this Vibe Check Tuesday, 301-230-0980 on the Team 980 in the free, he said, Odyssey app. It's the Hoffman Show on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Anthony, did you see today that 2 Chainz is coming to D.C.? I think it's April 5th for a Wizards postgame concert.
Oh, man.
So all you got to do is go to the game, and then you get a free 2 Chainz concert after.
Dang.
Which is crazy. I can't believe they got 2 Chainz to do that.
I know.
Because I feel like 2 Chainz could be like, I'm going to Capital One Arena, and he would sell it out. He's
easily.
like, yeah, no, but dude loves hoop. So
He
He's
used
part
to
of the
hoop.
concert series. He did. It's funny, Clinton. I don't know what. I haven't read the text message yet, but I'm name dropping, and he's going to be on the show tomorrow anyway. But Clinton just texted me. Clinton did a big E60 piece on 2 Chainz in his high school basketball career a couple years ago.
Oh wow.
It was very, very good. You got to hang out with him. And now every time 2 Chainz comes on, Rachel is like, 2 Chainz, Clinton knows him. It's kind of a funny inside joke. But it's not really inside or a joke. It's true. Clinton got to spend some time with 2 Chainz. Maybe we'll talk about that on the show tomorrow. Maybe
Possibly.
we won't. I know Yates has some stuff on Del Rio, so we'll talk about that tomorrow. Right now, though, we talk to you, 301-230-0980. It's the Ace Law listener line. If you're in a wreck, Ace Law helps you get a check. Call 8888 Ace Law. Let's go to, I feel we had Greg in Gaithersburg, Ant. Now we got Lee and Laurel. I feel like these are fake names, but we're going to go to Lee and Laurel. Lee, thanks for calling. You're on the Hoffman Show.
Hey, how's it going?
Going well, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of piggyback on what Greg said. We definitely don't need quarterback. It's not our biggest priority. I think we should be looking at trying to trade down and get multiple picks instead of trying to raid the top spots on the draft board. But obviously GM is going to be our biggest acquisition, and then head coach. So that's just my 2 cents, man. I'll leave it to you guys.
All right, Lee. Thanks for the call. I hadn't really thought of the trade down thing yet because, I don't want to turn this into, look, the season's going to end January, 7th, I think, something like that, is the last game, January 8th. And then we're going to talk about the draft until damn near May. We're going to have time to preview draft stuff. I think it's imperative that with their first pick, whenever that is, they get an elite player. They will not, in the Ron Rivera era, ever have a different guy than when he got here be the best player on the team. When he got here, it was either John Allen or Terry McLaurin, and when he leaves, it will be John Allen or Terry McLaurin. That's inexcusable. And those guys are real good, but there is a level above each of them, where if you had the actual best player at a position. And by the way, one of the things that we've talked about is how good is this roster and the youth on it. And something I want to do at 6:00 is looking at a list that ESPN just put out of, they called it the all youngster team. And they did 2 deep. So 44 players, 22 players, of course, 11 on each side of the ball. Then you go 2 deep. That's 22 first team, 22 second team, 44 players. And I have to look at the second team, but on the first team, there wasn't a single commander. So, you don't have any of the best young players in the sport, despite the fact that your team is, all young players. That's not good. And I know they've been in some tough draft spots because they've been stuck in the middle of the first round, but, other teams get lucky. And it's not like the good team, the 49ers have players on that list. They weren't necessarily first-round picks. Tafunga, the safety. He's on the list. Commanders have drafted him. If I'm remembering correctly, yeah. So I think that's the really frustrating part about this is, is the team in a better position now than when he got here? Sure. But a lot of that positioning is going to have to do with draft capital and cap space as opposed to, hey, he actually thoroughly improved the 53 situation. 301-230-0980. Back to the Ace Law listener line. We go on this Vibe Check Tuesday. Let's go to our guy Saeed in Upper Marlboro. Saeed, what's up, man? How you doing?
Good. Question for you.
Okay.
I'm really when people talk about Sam and they talk about Dotson and they talk about all these young players, I don't think that Rivera has ever – he doesn't have a resume that shows he's ever been able to develop a talent from good to great or great to best. He's never shown Scott Turner before, with the offensive coordinator, has never shown he's been able to do that. Maybe his dad did, but he didn't. Del Rio has never shown that he can take good and make it great or better, make it best. They don't have any resume. In fact, they don't even have a resume with developing coaches underneath them to go from good to better, best, and all that. So my question is, how can we talk about what we know we have? Like you mentioned, C.J. Stroud, he's better. Like, yeah, sure, production-wise, stats-wise, maybe some of the intangibles you see, he might be better. But how do we know what we have if the people who are paid to coach them, put them in the right spot, draw up the right schemes, they've never shown the ability to develop that.
Right.
So I don't even know. Like, if you were to take Sam Howell right now and let's go crazy, let's put him on the Chiefs. Are you saying that he's going to produce the exact same under Andy Reid, under Matt Nagy and those guys? I don't think so. I feel like he'll learn more. I feel like he'll have more experience.
Of course.
So how do you know going into the draft next year, like you're saying if we get top 4, top 5, top 6 pick, how do you know what you have maybe, let's say, in Sam Howell, if I don't want to go too far and call him incompetent. You know, I'm trying to be respectful, but, like, I have no faith in these guys taking a guy off the street that is a third round and making him play like he's a 2, or a 5 making him play like he's a 4.
I hear you, Saeed. And
so I'm really in a tough spot there.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the sentiment. It's something that I've started to talk about because I think that we have swung too far in the narrative has swung too far that this is an untalented roster, and I don't believe that that's the case. And the short answer is I don't. The longer answer is that's why scouts get paid. Like, it is on the job of the scouts to be able to, and especially when you're an in-house scout, right? Like, so you're a new GM, you come in, you've watched tape, but now you start watching tape with guys, or you interview them, and you get to know your roster, and you can be like, hey, what happened on this play? And the player might be like, they told me to do this, and then they told me to do that, and I was confused, so I tried to do this thing, but it actually was that, and they didn't prepare us for that. Like, if it's a bunch of stuff where you're like, wow, these guys were coached like crap. I really liked this player coming out, and in certain situations, I see physical gifts that I think that schematically we can repeat, then that's a player that's very useful. I think the irony of what you said, though, Saeed, is Ron Rivera does have that track record earlier in Carolina. He didn't apply any of those skills here. In Carolina, he had Luke Kuechly, who might be the best middle linebacker of all time. And Luke was probably going to be that anywhere, but he was that under Ron defensively. And by the way, coach-wise, Sean McDermott, who's done a hell of a job in Buffalo and was under Ron for a long time in Carolina. He also had Star Lotulelei and some other talented defensive linemen. He had Josh Norman, the best years that Josh had were there.
Yeah, I'm not saying that he never had.
The problem is they came here and like, they didn't install the same system. Ron has been very hands-off. Like, Ron, some of the things that he did well previously in San Diego, in Chicago, in Carolina, he didn't even bother trying here. And I think that's what's really disappointing about his tenure amongst a zillion other things and why I'm intrigued over the next couple of weeks is, like, can he find a simpler system that cleans up the mental side for guys and allows them to shine? But at the end of the day, like, GM, assistant GM, your pro scouts, like, they're going to have, and your new coaching staff is going to have to make these decisions based off of what they've seen from these players and take their best guess. Because I agree, schematically, they have not been maximized at all. As for Sam, like, you know, you're going to have to make a determination. And unfortunately, I think a lot of people are going to come in with bias. They're going to come in and say, what did I think of him coming out of college? And that's going to color what they thought. I mean, I guess the good news is a lot of offensive coaches really liked him coming out of college. And so we'll see. You know, how does he fit? What are the things he does well? What are the things he doesn't? How does that fit with the current scheme? And the other thing, the last point I'll make on this, because this is a topic we're going to talk about a lot, and so there will be plenty of more time to, I think, discuss this, is there's no such thing as like a scheme agnostic evaluation. Everything is about how does this player fit for me. I don't care if a player is the best nose tackle of all time. If I play a 4-3 and I need him to play a shade, a one technique, and like when a dude's when it's a different position, he's not as good. He's just like an average one technique, average shade, but he's a Hall of Fame nose tackle. It doesn't help me if I don't play him at nose tackle. And so that's just an oversimplified example, but, you know, we talk about, oh, well, what would he be in San Francisco? What would he be in Kansas City? I don't care. I care about how they'll be here. And we don't even know what that's going to look like yet. So it's hard to make that adjustment. And so, like, to wrap this up, a guy like Benjamin St. Juice, if I'm going to play a super man-heavy, or a Kendall Fuller, if I'm going to play a super man-heavy scheme, and I've seen what's happened to them in man-to-man coverage this year, I probably want new corners. If I'm going to play a ton of zone, I might be a little bit more interested. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Wrap up Vibe Check Tuesday next, the first hour of our Tuesday show with your calls, 301-230-0980. That Ace Law listener line wide open for you.
Here's what's trending.
The Hoffman Show on the Team 980. Always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Streaming live on YouTube at the Team 980. Let's go back to the phones on this Vibe Check Tuesday. How you feeling about the Commanders now and moving forward? 301-230-0980 for Lynnell Hops in studio. And Vibe Check Tuesday goes to Overreaction Tuesday at 5 p.m. Again, Kyle Kuzma joins us at 5:30. Let's go to Harry. Harry, thanks for calling. You are on the Hoffman Show.
How you doing this evening?
Doing well.
All right. My thoughts haven't changed. 2 years ago, I called in to, I don't remember who it was, and I told him, I said, we probably got the worst back seven on defense in the league, and I still feel we do. I just don't get how we can't find somebody to play defensive back and get some kind of linebacker with some kind of consistency. And as far as the offensive line, I don't think there's one of the starters that I would really bank on being somebody I can depend on in the future. Right now, I don't see it.
So, Harry, let me ask you a question, Harry. How much NFL football do you watch outside of the Commanders?
I watch a ton. I bet everything, man. I'm always into it.
Okay.
Totally into it.
How do you do when you bet?
I do real good, man.
Okay.
Real good.
That's great. I'm very happy for you, but it's a good thing you're betting on scores and not talent. Because if you don't think there's another offensive lineman on this team that is like starting caliber, then I'm sorry, you're just like it's hyperbolic.
Tell me who it is, man.
Sam Cosmi.
Who it is. I'll listen to it. Okay. Next.
I think Charles Leno is a starting caliber. He's not a great starter, but Charles Leno is a starting caliber player. Tyler Larson is.
Thin, aren't you?
What was that?
Starting to get a little thin after you go Cosby, aren't you?
I'm not telling you that it's a great line. I'm just telling you it's maybe slightly below average. Some games it's definitely been worse. But like line play around the league is quantifiable in a lot of different ways, and the metrics just tell you that it's not awful. It's not good. They should upgrade in a lot of places. Also defensively, Jamin Davis is a solid football player. Cam Curl's a pretty good football player. The things they're being asked to do by bad coaching staffs are ridiculous.
Okay, I'll go with part of that statement you just made. The coaching staff, but Cam Curl hadn't done anything since that first year nothing that impressed me beyond the point of wow. Well, look what we got.
That's one of the areas where I think he can improve is like being a ball hawking playmaker, but like that doesn't mean he's not very solid. He executes his assignments with regularity at an extremely proficient rate. And last year, by the way, he did it even better. And to the point that I think PFF wound up grading him out as their second best safety in the entire league last year.
That's hard to swallow there. But anyway, I'll give you credit on one statement you made, and I was going to follow it up to, is the fact that in this system, in this current coaching staff, these guys don't look good. They don't. They look terrible. And if you say that's not true, then you need to check yourself, man.
No, that's what I've been saying nonstop. Like the fact is they're dead last in points against, and I think they finished somehow they gave up a zillion yards to the Cowboys and went up in the rankings in terms of yards per game. They're now sitting 29th in yards per game, and they're bottom 5 in defensive DVOA. So advanced metric, basic metrics, no, they're terrible defensively, and I've been saying that for weeks. So
yeah.
It's the reason why that I think is important to suss out.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to point my finger at the defensive line or the trades. Honestly, I think the trades were probably for the best. I hated to see Sweat go, but Chase Young, what's he been, a cheerleader for 3 years? So Chase Young's no loss to me.
All right, but, Harry, thanks for the call. Yeah. Always good, Anthony. Those are my favorites when people call in and tell you things that you've been saying for months. I appreciate Harry calling in. I'm glad that he apparently calls in every couple of years. And I just say that, let's listen in between the calls in every 2 years, Was I too mean there?
Nah, I agree.
I agree. Like, this is the thing. So, like, there's a play. We talk about this on Take Command. And there's a play that Jamin Davis is can I do that? Let me see if I can get this succinctly described on the radio. So there are 4 players to the left side of the formation that are eligible receivers and 1 to the right. You have a halfback, a fullback, a tight end, and a wide receiver that are all aligned left. You have a single receiver to the right. Jamin is obviously on the right because he's the weak side linebacker, right? So strong side left, defensive left is Jamin / the offensive right. And every team in the league runs a similar concept where they run a slant to that backside window. And part of the reason is when it's 4 weak, your eyes as a weak side linebacker are to go to where the 4 players are. And so you do something to get the eyes there, move the linebacker out of the window, and bang, throw the slant behind it. And sure enough, the Cowboys hit it, and then you start to hear that, like, they're mad at Jamin because he didn't pick off the slant. And it's like, okay, well, what happens when they throw something to the strong side and throw a check down to the back and he's late? Are you going to yell at him then too? If you're coaching, here's another great example. The touchdown that Percy Butler gives up, right? The Brandon Cooks touchdown. Everyone remembers seeing it where it's like, where is Percy Butler going? The concept is called jolt. It's one that every team in the league runs. It's like this little half roll, and on the back side of it, a lot of teams run a corner off of it. So Dak fakes a handoff to the right, fakes a handoff to the left, rolls back to his right. Cooks is lined up on the right side, and often it's like vertical stem and then go to the corner. And so Butler, it would seem intelligently, jumps the corner. Because if that's what he's coached to do, okay, he did his job. The problem is Cooks runs a post. And Dak throws a post, and it's wide, buck naked open because Percy jumped the corner. And, obviously St. Juste is screwed as the DB on that because he's expecting that. He's like, I'm under the corner. I need you to protect the post. And so both of them look like they don't know how to play football. And is that on them? Maybe. But I could also very easily see it being a coaching thing where Visselmeyer was like, hey, man, well, if in this formation, they love to run this thing, and you better jump that corner because you're going to have yourself a pick. And Percy's like, all right. And they run a post instead of a corner, and it gives up a touchdown. So if there's better coaching and it's like, hey, you need to play this way, be ready for the corner, but make sure you take away the post, that's very different than, hey, bro, jump the corner. And so I don't know how it's coached. That's not me. I'm not reporting that. I'm just hypothesizing based off of watching the tape and talking it over with Logan, which, you guys can hear on Take Command. That's actually out now. We decided to release the film review a day early because y'all been waiting on it since Thursday. But those are the kinds of things where it's like, it feels like, oh, yeah, if this play happens, we want you to do this. And then that the counter to that happens, and then they're like, well, why didn't you have it covered? And it's like, well, you told me to do the other thing. And it just feels like when you watch tape, guys are stuck in these in-between bad positions all the time. So, when Harry calls in and is like, our back seven's terrible, I'm like, is it? I don't know. I know they're playing terrible, but there's a difference between playing terrible and being terrible. And that's what we don't know at this time. Are they playing terrible? Or are they terrible? And hopefully the simplifications that Rivera puts on this defense for the next 5 weeks, this weekend notwithstanding, because it's the Dolphins and it's going to be ugly, can help us answer that question for the next people to coach them. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app. And when we get back, Lynnell will sit down in studio with us and chat about his takes on the game in a little segment we call Overreaction Tuesday. Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Wizards forward Kyle Kuzma coming up at 5:30. Right now, though, it is time for Not My Beat.
Today's top story from the perspective of someone who's there.
You are looking live.
This just in.
Not My Beat.
Lynnell Willingham with us for Overreaction Tuesday. Lynnell, two questions. One, why are you incapable of sitting in the center of the camera? Thank you.
There we go.
And two, it's not like you can't see it. It's right in front of you, right?
I know.
The screen's like right there.
Give me a break. First of all, honored to be coming on before Kyle Kuzma, who has been in his duffel bag recently, efficient scoring, getting buckets, getting others involved. So happy to listen to that when I hop off.
Yeah, definitely. And then my second question is, like, are you cold?
It's freezing. I'm getting over a little bug I had over Thanksgiving break. I'm whipping back into shape, though.
Okay.
The dog is off the leash because I feel like I've gone rogue since the firing of Jack Del Rio. So.
Oh, he's gone rogue. Well, this certainly shapes
back
up for a hell of an Overreaction Tuesday. So I guess hit us with the first take. For those that are new to the segment, Lynnell comes on. He gives his takes. I judge whether they are overreactions or not. We talk about the substance of them like real grown adults. And then I tell him goodbye, and he yells at the rooster tomorrow.
Normally how it goes.
Yeah, that's normally how it goes. So first take. Fire away.
Not even really a take to start. I just want to give a message to the fan base.
Okay.
For what this next 4 to 5 month period is about to be. And I guess you could really look at it as the next calendar year. There is a lot of turnover that's going to take place within this organization, talking about the Washington Commanders here within the next 12 months, from coaches to scouts to players. I think everyone from here on out, we got to exude patience, right? Like, this is not a quick fix. I don't think this roster can be turned around in one offseason. I don't think this team can all of a sudden be a 9-10 win team next year. I think they're a lot closer to the bottom than what we all realize. And I know defensively their woes this year, we'll see for the rest of the season whether it was on coaching or not. I think it's a personnel issue that is going to have to get addressed in the offseason. And the next 5 weeks should be about figuring out, one, obviously, what your quarterback's going to be, and then who on this roster right now can be here moving forward in a multitude of different pieces, whether or not it's in the role of a starter or a quality backup, because they don't have either, I feel like, on a lot of spots on this roster.
Overreaction. That was
Yes.
a take, and it is an overreaction. I think the narrative / the pendulum / the whatever other word you want to insert here has swung way too far in terms of the evaluation of talent on this team. This team is poorly coached, specifically on defense. It is horrendously coached. You have guys being asked to do way too much. You have guys, I mean, some of it is injury or roster construction by design now because you've made trades, for instance, like Casey Tuhill is overextended because he's not meant to be a starter. But if you can get, or he's not meant to be
No, he's not meant to be a starter. I think you had that right there.
He's not. He could be a starter if he's starting next opposite, like on a good defense, opposite of Montez Sweat, right?
I don't trust Casey Tuhill to set my edges.
Their design on how they set edges is also terrible. But this defense was pretty good with James Smith-Williams opposite of Montez Sweat last year. He's a better edge setter, so like maybe it's a stylistic thing, right? James versus Casey. But point is, like, you don't need two studs defensive ends. You need a really solid football player on one, and you would really do better to have a stud on the other. They could go draft or acquire a stud with their $80 million of cap space, which could be as much as $100, depending on what they do at certain positions. And they've got, we assume, safely 3 top 40 picks. And who knows, maybe if they decide Sam's their guy and they have the 3rd pick and they don't really love, let's say May and Williams go 1st and 2nd and someone else wants to trade up for a quarterback that they don't like as much, you could trade down and you might wind up with 4 or 5 top 40 picks. Like, it's not unreasonable with the cap space potential, endless potential to be coached better and draft picks that they are better next year. Like, I have no idea if Quan Martin's a good football player. I have no idea if Emmanuel Forbes is a good football player. I really don't know if, like, Cody Barton could be a pretty, like, serviceable middle-level starter football player. Like, he's played a lot better as of late. What happens once he's comfortable playing behind Allen and Payne and, there's more clarity in what his job is in the system? offensively, like Terry and Jahan, I think they're better than what they're showing right now. I think obviously you get two to three offensive linemen that are significant upgrades, and that's a game changer. A stud tight end, like because of the draft capital they have and the cap space they have, this is all possible to me. I think you're going to deal with some growing pains because there's going to be new coaches with new systems. That is inherent. But to think that they can't win 9 games next year, I think is setting the bar too low. Like, we'll see what they do, but I think it is very, very possible.
Yeah, this is just one of those things where we disagree. I think you're starting from scratch darn near on the defensive side of the football. Like, I can count probably on one hand the guys that I would probably bring back defensively as a starter or as
to be
like
fair,
a key backup.
Lynnell, there's only 11 on the field, and you do have 5 fingers.
I'm talking about key backups as well, because I think some of your guys like a KJ Henry or an Andre Jones probably going to bring back Cam if he's not going to ask for top 5 safety money.
I would agree with that.
That's a fair bet to bring back. I think your young pups, you're going to bring them back by nature because they're under contract, talking about Andre Jones, KJ Henry. So I guess we're at 3 if I add just Andre Jones and KJ Henry, because Casey and James are free agents, correct?
Correct.
So depending on – this all depends on what the new people think, but if it's my team, I'm probably going to let those 2 walk and allow Andre and KJ to fill the role that they've been playing the last 2 years. And they're kind of similar. KJ's more like James. Andre's more like Casey in terms of their skill set. One's better.
Andre Jones was a nice story, and I hope he can continue to develop, and it'd be awesome if he did. KJ Henry's the more important player. He's my 4th defensive end or my 3rd defensive end. I would then try to bring in someone in free agency and draft a guy.
I agree with that, and I think Andre Jones right now is being asked to do something I don't think he's too comfortable with. He doesn't look like he's comfortable at all rushing out of a 3-point stance. Like, the get-off's not there. He's slow getting out of the stance, and it's not like he's a bad athlete.
He's just 7th round pick for a reason.
Yeah, he's raw and has some tools that you like, but he needs to be sharpened. Quan Martin, I'm excited to see him in like an extended role if they decide to like play him differently. I know he's done a lot of work as like the slot, and he's done good work on special teams, but like maybe trying him as your deep post safety. I'm interested to see that for like the final 5 weeks of the season.
Hasn't been great when he's been there so far this year. He's had some mistakes in the post, but he's a young player who was asked, and this is the coaching thing, right? They gave him so bleepity bleep much in the preseason, and they were like, "Oh, he's a smart kid; he can handle it." And it's like, I don't know, can we do one thing well as opposed to 7 things poorly? And I don't put that on Quan. Like, that's on the coaching staff for asking a young player who's got to learn the league to learn 5 different positions. Like, that's ridiculous. And we said it at the time. Like, and maybe some of us were a little bit more benefit of the doubt of like, hey, is this a good idea? You question it as opposed to being like, this is a bad idea. In hindsight, terrible idea. So can the new staff take Quan Martin and say like, you're the nickel, or you are this, like, you're a post safety? Either one, I think Quan Martin can be a good football player. He wasn't overdrafted. Like, 2nd round is where most people had him.
And I think you'll get an idea of this over the next 5 weeks, which is why, I think it's so important. I guess I was a little hyperbolic saying 5 because I haven't even got to the D tackles yet. And
the tackles are staying, both because they're good players and because contractually, like, it's a ton of dead money. Although John, I think you can redo and get away with, but like, you're not getting rid of John Allen.
It's where we may differ in terms of our team building philosophies moving forward. But the tackles we'll throw in there. I just look at it big picture, and I say defensively I wouldn't have known I was going to say this in August. They're way further behind on defense than it feels like than they are on offense. And it kind of gets to my next overreaction, which I know me and you are 100.
Let's finish out the defense real quick because like Cody might be fine. I don't think it depends on the system, but
I don't know.
100% you can upgrade there. Like, but is it worth it at middle linebacker? I think the middle linebacker play around this is not actually a referendum on Cody Barton, so I can already feel the comments going crazy of like how, whatever. But like, there's not many good middle linebackers in the league. It's a hard position to play, and there's a reason teams don't invest in it. So if you have a guy who's serviceable, fine. Jamin is a solid football player that if they could just quit asking him to do stuff that's silly,
but
he
Craig,
would be very
if he can't cover, Craig, then how can he play?
He can cover. Like, that's the thing. The dirty secret is Jamin Davis can cover. Jamin Davis can't cover Saquon Barkley in space, but neither can any other linebacker in the NFL except for maybe Fred Warner. Like they ask him to do stuff that's insane on a regular basis. That's the problem. You put Jamin in a box where he plays like a much simpler version of Will linebacker, he's going to have 100 tackles, and he just gets to run and hit people and blitz and, yes, drop into some pretty basic zone coverages, but quit manning him up on the best running backs in the league on a regular basis. Like, that's the kind of stuff where I have a big enough sample size now to say, like, this is not a personnel issue on that particular thing. Like, is it unavoidable sometimes? Sure. But overall, like, the frequency with which that happens, to me, is a coaching issue. But Jamin Davis can cover, and he has done I think the problem, too, with coverage is often when it's good, you don't know unless you, like, watch the tape and grade it out and pay attention to where the ball doesn't go. Right. Because the ball doesn't go there. But you think of how bad the pass rush has been this year, and some of the plays that are made off schedule, the coverage looks worse because the front has been god awful the last 3 weeks especially, but has been subpar the entire season.
Yeah, I just think Jamin right now, to me, is a better athlete than he is a football player. And I think, sort of to what you're saying, it's on a good coach to come in and try to get the most out of this moldable piece of clay. His fifth-year option wouldn't be getting picked up by me.
No, I would not do that.
Wouldn't be something I entertain. But you got a couple of more, next year to really figure out what you want to do with him. But right. I think the case with Jamin is the case with a lot of the guys on the defense, and I think you make a hell of a point with that. It's hard, and we've talked about this before, it's hard to really assess what they have defensively because they haven't been put in the proper position to succeed. But another problem with this defense is they're just not making plays. Like, you can be in position all day long, and guys got to come up with the football. Guys got to make plays. I don't think they have enough of that.
I agree.
On that side of the ball. And I think that's, to me, the issue and why I would probably tear it down to the studs, meaning if you can get something for John, I get something for John.
I'd have to look at how much dead money there is. Like Duran, it's a non-starter.
Oh, right.
Like the amount of money the dead money on Duran's contract, I need at least 2 first to deal with that cap situation. John, I think, is a different conversation. But like, I guess, like, yes, they need more playmakers, and you'd hope that Forbes and Quan and Jamin has made some of those this year that they have made. You need Duran and John to make more of those. You'd hope you draft another stud. And you need Curl and St. Juice, for instance, to do that more often. Like, that is the problem with those two players. But we'll see schematically. You were going to make an offensive point. I'm going to make you hold on to it for an extra 3 minutes. We come back. Lynnell's next take, overreaction or not. It's Overreaction Tuesday on the Hoffman Show on the Team 980 and always live on the free Odyssey app. It is the Hoffman Show on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Lynnell Willingham with us for one more segment on an Overreaction Tuesday before Kyle Kuzma joins us at the bottom of the hour. All right, Lynnell, you had an offensive take, spurring to get off your tongue. Go ahead and let it rip.
Spurring.
Yeah,
it's kind of influenced by a lot of some Odyssey DC articles that I've seen over the past 72 hours or so.
At the team980.com.
At the team980.com. Just getting everyone's opinion and where we're at right now in terms of moving forward with the coaching search. And a lot of people seem right now to be kind of out on Eric Bieniemy. I know me and you have had brief conversation about just what we've heard from in the building about how players would feel about him taking over as the head coach. And I'm going to echo some of what I heard earlier today listening to B Mission Philly. It just, I think it's really hard, and I understand all these guys are professionals. Their voices deserve to be heard, right? I'm not trying to diminish their feelings at all. This is not what this is.
But
I mean, damn. I mean, if Tyreek Hill, and I'll play some of this audio tonight on Overtime on the Fan 6:30 to 10. Tyreek Hill, if you ever hear him go into detail about how much Eric Bieniemy means to him as a football player, but not just as a football player, but as a man, you'll really understand the type of relationship and the type of interpersonal relationships that EB can build if he gets the time to get to know these guys. It hasn't even been a full calendar year with him in this locker room, and folks are already talking about they don't like him and he's coaching them too hard. I don't even know what the exact messaging is coming out of there, but if you're if you're upset at like lack of production and like lack of targets, if you're a receiver, like if Terry came out and was like, yeah, kind of upset, I'm not really getting the football, I would understand that a little bit. But I'm wondering who it's coming from and why, because to put it simply, like, it's the only guy on your staff that's got hardware. It's the only guy on your staff that's done it on a consistent level. And Travis Kelce's come out to bat, Pat's come out to bat, Tyreek's come out to bat. Those are three guys that he was, very influential in coaching.
I hear you, and I think that there is, like, to me, this is not an overreaction, but there is a lot of gray area. Keim was the first, like, real reporter to, like, say something here that I thought was really interesting, which kind of illuminated some of the, like, very vague rumblings you hear, right? He said that some people in the building, or some players, he said this on his podcast, the John Keim Report, that some people or players wish that Eric had not gotten as much power and that Ron would have taken some of it back. And to me, that speaks to, okay, well, what did Eric do with that power? Was it how he interacted with people, that he was seemed like power hungry, and without an Andy Reid over top of him to check him, that he would, like, the relationship is different because there wasn't someone that, was willing to stand up to Eric and at times be like, nah, man, you need to chill out, which Andy might have been. You have kind of a fire and ice thing. Not that Andy Reid can't be fiery and isn't hard on players, but it's different when you're checked versus unchecked. I also think that, like, on a much more human baseline level, and I already know, again, the comment section, let me have it. The fans, we're going to say your professional football players, who cares about your off day? But, like, if you go around and change players' schedules and, like, the off day, that really messes with their lives. It messes with their routines. It messes with when they get treatment. It messes with when they do charity work. It messes with time they spend with their families. It messes with their ability to, like, go to something in their hometown and be back. Like, these are adult human beings who have lives outside of their job. They're extremely dedicated to the job in the off season. And if you change their off day and their ability to conduct their lives, it better work and it better have good reason. And I feel like even in training camp, I was hearing that guys were kind of ticked off with some of the schedule stuff that EB wanted to change, and Ron was willing to let it happen, and then it didn't work. And they're 4-8.
This is my thing. What about that didn't work?
I mean,
are they 4-8 because the practice schedule changed, or are they 4-8 because they're bad defensively?
No, like, they're definitely more 4-8 because they're, when they were practicing, it wasn't very good. But, like, the point is like, if the results follow, people fall in line. Eric could get away with some of this stuff in Kansas City because they were winning. And you start to buy into it. You start to believe it because the results are there. And there's been a ton of studies. Now I'm going way outside of football here, but like there are a ton of studies, say in the fitness world, about people who believe stuff that works for them when it doesn't actually work in mass, or maybe they're confused about what the thing is that actually is working for them.
Right.
And so it winds up being this false confirmation, if you will. And so long story short, like my beef, if there is beef, calling it beef is way too strong. I'm not a hot take artist. I'm not trying to have beef with coaches. My issue with Bieniemy as a potential head coach is philosophically the way he has handled the offense this year. I do not think that is the most effective way to win football games in this league.
You say just in terms of the high volume of throwing the football, or the passing
high volume
game?
of throwing, like too high. Definitely a passing league. Definitely pass a lot. This is ridiculous, especially when you have a young player and a quarterback. And that kind of goes to I am not convinced that he is someone who won't repeat the same mistakes in a different way that Jay Gruden had. Jay would be like, the system works. You write it on the page, this play should work. And he was right a lot.
Yeah.
Right? But you have other players, and I think this is where like Sean was a great influence on Jay, where Sean would be like, we got to get the ball to Jordan Reed. Right? That is a different approach. And which one you prioritize, both coaches will believe in both. Yeah, we got to get the ball to our best players. We got to have great players. We got to do this. But like, if you get too caught up in your scheme and the X's and O's and not enough in the players, that to me is backwards. And I think that EB did not adjust his scheme from Howell to Mahomes, or Mahomes to Howell, and to Kelsey, interior features to, hey, our three best players are wide receivers. And to me, that says something about how you think philosophically. And thus, I would like someone who thinks, again, personal preference. I'm not 100% right, but I disagree with that philosophy.
And then it's an audio clip that I have from a year and a half ago. Travis Kelce talking on the set of the Super Bowl when the Rams were about to play the Bengals. So this is when EB's name first got in that cycle, and people were banging on the table for him to get the job. Kelce multiple times talked about, EB is the guy that stands up in a lot of these meetings when we're installing stuff and putting in our game plan and our situational stuff. He's the guy that's leading all of that. So for me to believe that he all of a sudden forgot how to coach and forgot how to feature people in the offense, it's hard to believe. And I understand Terry's numbers are down, Jahan's numbers are down, and I understand what people's gripes are with your best wide receiver seemingly and Terry McLaurin not getting the ball. But for me personally, there's gray area because I don't watch, admittedly, as much all 22 as a lot of other guys do. But Sam's ultimately responsible to where the football goes at the end of the day. So we don't know the play call to say that he's not featuring guys. What if Sam's just not throwing them the football?
There is some of that happening. And sometimes, by the way, Sam's not throwing it because he's about to die. The offensive line and protection stuff is good. But, they don't scheme up their run game. They don't prioritize creating good angles in the run game. And I'm looking at the best offenses in the NFL, including the one that's going to drop 50 points on this defense this weekend, and they're going to do that. That's how they create.
So you're
big
more
plays.
with detail instead of the volume of it, because I think detail matters a lot more. Because if you look at the teams that are top 5 in attempts, Atlanta's one of the top 5 rushing teams in attempts this year. They're not very good offensively. I don't have the rankings up in front of me, but
terrible.
Right, but I say all that to say, just because you're a team that's top 5 in the NFL in rushing, it doesn't automatically translate to success.
No, but of course not. But the best offense. Who are the best offenses in the league?
I would say when healthy, Cincinnati's is up there. I would say Buffalo. I would say
Detroit.
Well,
San Francisco.
Detroit, San Francisco.
Minnesota has been really good the last couple of years. L.A.
Miami, yeah.
Miami's the best.
I think Baltimore, when they're clicking, is one
all
of the better
those teams
ones,
you just named. They scheme it up. They have good marriage between their run games and their pass games, the play action game. They move the quarterback. They do all the stuff that this team does not, to me, does not do enough of. And again, we can get super into the details here, but at the end of the day, there's just philosophical things with the way that they run this stuff. And there's enough smoke coming out of the building about how he's handled, the scheduling and whatever else that players are mad at. I don't know what it is, but like it's enough that it's starting to come out in a bad season.
Which is ridiculous, by the way.
I think here's the other thing that I would say too about Bieniemy is like, I think they need to start fresh. I think that from a coaching, leadership, everything standpoint, that's the thing that needs to get taken down to the studs.
So my thing is, and this is how I feel like the next 5 weeks will go this way to me. Him coming back and being considered as your head coach, I think should have a lot to do with how Sam in the offense performs down the stretch. And some people may say, well, those two things don't really have anything to do with each other because EB is going to be the head coach, meaning that he's going to have to give away some of the offensive power anyway. But I'm just like, I don't know. He seems like a guy that just can galvanize people. And listening to others talk about him, media members from Kansas City, players outside of Travis Mahomes and Tyreek, the guy's just got something about him as a former player where he's able to relate to guys. And the one thing that all of them say to a man is that he is going to push you to your absolute brink. And I just think in today's day and age, man, there's a certain type of cat that's able to take that, and there's cats that can't. And I don't want the cats that can't. Honestly, I think and I don't mean to go like macho machismo toughness, but
so
like
much
to
time
me,
with Doc Walker over there.
I just think, there's a certain way, like you got to be coached in the National Football League there's a certain way you got to coach to get the most out of guys. I feel like you got to know who you can kick in the butt and who you got to tap on the top of the head. But
that's coaching.
Striking that balance is huge. And I think he does a good job of it based on all the positives you hear. Like, I don't give a damn what Shady McCoy has to say about Eric Bieniemy. Like, he's not even good on TV.
Well, okay. Well, that we can agree on. That is coaching. That is the art of we have now destroyed the clock. So this is a conversation that will certainly continue over the next couple of weeks. The art of coaching is understanding how you get through to players. I would highly suggest anyone, you included, read the Washington Post feature on Mike McDaniel, who does it a completely different way. Like, there are multiple ways to do this. At the end of the day, you have to be able to reach people, and that is the art of it. And obviously, he did a great job in Kansas City. I think he's a good coach. I think he belongs in the league. I think he obviously has been deserving, based off resume, of a head coaching shot. I just don't know here if that's the right play. My thought is here, they need to wipe out every coach on staff on both sides of the ball and start over. If you want to keep anybody, congrats to the special teams crew. I guess y'all can stick around. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app. That is Lynnell Willingham. Kyle Kuzma on the blower to talk to us next. The Hoffman Show on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. And it's our pleasure to welcome back to the show Wizards forward Kyle Kuzma. Kuz, appreciate your time, man. I know it's been a busy couple of days. Obviously, a fantastic win. Big game for you last night on the court. But you had a really cool program that you did and were a part of back in your hometown of Flint earlier this week. How did you get involved in the Ignite program, and what is it for folks that are unfamiliar?
I'm really big into helping people and change, and I think jail reform is something that's, not really looked at enough, and just having a relationship back home with the sheriff of our county for many years. Obviously, this is something that they do pretty well. They do pretty big, and it's just something that's really important to me. So it's great.
So I was reading some of the statistics on it, and what it is for those folks that don't know is it provides education for folks who are in prison, and it some of the stuff it's done includes taking down violence in the prisons. Like, how did this get on your radar in the first place, and was there anything in particular about the program that really caught your eye and was like, oh, this is where I want to spend my time?
I think one of the biggest things is, like I said, not being talked about is jail reform. A lot of these people, they go to jail and they are, waiting for sentencing. They may be in mild to moderate charges, and the ideology of what a county jail or jail should be is, this is your wake up call. And I think what they do is they give privileges based off of performance and rewards. So, there's people that are trying to get their GEDs, learn skills, trades. And, I think that's a better way to approach mass incarceration, because a lot of these people, they have fourth and fifth grade reading levels and don't know math. You know what I mean? So, a lot of these things, stems from, just our educational system, which is flawed. So,
yeah, absolutely, and that's a whole separate. Connected, but so not really whole separate, but a different issue that obviously a lot of folks are working on. Kyle Kuzma is with us here on the Hoffman Show, and then you also had a Thanksgiving event back here in DC, right? If I'm remembering correctly, last week.
Yeah. We provided meals for I think 700 to 800 plus families. Obviously coinciding with the Wiz to help out and assist us within that and to partner with them, and it's been a very giving couple of weeks. So
yeah, definitely. So I'm curious, the kind of question I would have for you is if you think back to what you were like as a kid and the dreams that you had, because obviously you probably had plenty of dreams. Like last night, you were playing back in your hometown, you dropped 32 points, 12 boards, you get a win. That's great. But to be able to say last week we fed 700-800 families. When you think of young Kyle growing up in Michigan, what is kind of emotions does that invoke?
I think it's a blessing. Being very grateful and being able to do these things at a high level and help people. Never really think about it as a kid, but it's a blessing. So.
All right, Kyle Kuzma is with us here on the Hoffman Show. So obviously it has been a tough year on the floor for you guys, but you do get the big win last night. I'm curious for you personally, Kyle, you knew when you re-signed here that there was probably going to be some rebuilding, there was going to be some tough nights, but how was this year compared to what you thought it was going to be coming into it?
A little more than expected. I think that, if you watch the basketball games, you can kind of see that too, because I think we're a little bit better than what our record is, first and foremost, just because, we've blown multiple leads this year. We tricked off some games. Probably feel just a little bit better, if we didn't do those type of things. But, and I understand what I signed up for, and obviously, it goes beyond all that, because at the end of the day, resigning, if you look back at, the things that I said I wanted to continue to develop. And I think, that was a big emphasis as well for me signing here. So, I think I can do that every single night, and the wins will come as rebuild is on its way. So, Dawkins and Wingo, they're phenomenal at what they do. They know what they're doing. So, it's not as bad. So.
Yeah, no, totally. I'm curious, for fans watching when they watch the games, if they want to say okay, well, we hear you and we're willing to stick with you, but we want to know what we should be watching for from a development standpoint. What are some of those things for you that you're really focused on that, hey, you may make mistakes because you're doing them for the first time in a newer, bigger role, but that hopefully the next time that situation comes around, you nail it in a bigger and better way.
Well, if people watching, I think, just about overall, game has changed over the past 3 years being here. Getting better and better every single week, every single month, every year. It's been extremely important to me. I think one thing that I've done pretty well this year is just playmaking, finding open guys. Because you get to a point in your basketball career, especially when you're one of the guys on the team where you're kind of not really playing the same game as everybody, and that's more so of you're playing the game between the game, and you're playing against other people scouting you and other people game planning for you, and learning how other people guard you, and then learning counters for that. There's a lot that goes into it. So.
Yeah, no, I think that's great perspective. Kyle Kuzma's with us here on the Hoffman Show. All right, last couple of things. Last time we visited, you and Denny had a nice little spat about this was a media day about the music in the locker room, in the weight room. And Kyle, if you guys can hear in the background, is joining us from the team bus. Who is currently on the aux on the team bus in the background there?
We got AG on the aux right now.
Okay.
Playing some R&B style music. So.
Yeah, it's got a nice vibe in the background. It doesn't always exactly translate through to the phone great, but I can tell that there is a certain mood on the bus right now. And then
we have good vibes. So
yeah, which is always good. And then last but not least, Kyle, it is the holiday season, and I like to sneak a fashion question in or two. So my question for you to wrap up here in the holiday season is: what is the most fashionable gift that you have given, and what is the most fashionable gift that you have received?
Fashionable gift. Fashionable. I think I got a piano for Christmas 2 years ago. That's pretty fashionable.
That will change the nature of a room.
From aesthetic.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would probably say that, and then I'm a good gift giver. I buy my girlfriend a lot of nice things. So
okay.
I would say yeah.
Different fashion items. Can you play? Is the piano purely aesthetics, or do you play a little bit?
I play it from time to time when I'm bored. I got an instructor. I like people coming over to the house and playing it for me.
Okay.
Listening to music, so it all depends.
Okay, all right. That'd be a fun off-season project. Just get there on the piano.
For sure.
Kyle, we appreciate the time. Amazing stuff you did back home in Flint over the weekend. Congrats on the success with that and with the event last week. Congrats, by the way, on a great game last night as well. And we'll talk to you a little bit later in the season.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
This is the Hoffman Show on the Team 980 and the Odyssey app.
Hoffman Show on the Team 980. Always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Weekend review time on a Tuesday. We take a look back and say, what else happened this weekend? That's our official, unofficial. Anthony, I guess we don't really have like an official name for the segment. We don't have like fancy imaging or anything for it. I thought we did get some made at one time. Did we just never put that together? Is that an unforced error on our part?
Possibly.
Okay.
I don't think so, though.
Maybe. There's definitely one segment that we do. Maybe it was weekend preview, but it might have been this that we never put together the imaging piece. That'd be a fail on our part. We'll look into that. Maybe next week you tune in. The point is, on Monday we spend so much time on the Commanders, and we still spend plenty of time with them on a Tuesday. We definitely don't have time to look back and be like, hey, what else happened this weekend? So on Tuesday, we ask the question, what else happened this weekend? Coming up at 6 o'clock, we will take a look at ESPN's all-youngster team and figure out if there's any Commanders who got snubbed because there's 0 on it. So we'll get to that coming up at 6 o'clock. We're on until just 6:30 tonight. Maryland Hoops coming up at the bottom of the next hour. But, Anthony, plenty of chaos in college football. Michigan on a heater, 3 straight over Ohio State. Do you think Ryan Day can survive this?
I'm not going to lie, Craig. When it comes to Michigan versus Ohio State, you have to win that game. It doesn't matter if you continue to go 11-0 up into that game. If you don't beat Michigan, nothing else matters. So I don't know if there's a majority or minority, but I think I'm with the crew that deems that Ryan Day will not be returning next year to Ohio State.
Ohio State's such a premier job, but I would also be careful what you wish for. Like, they can get whoever they want.
Yep.
But I would be careful what you wish for. Like, he's got you competitive every single year. Stroud looks like a monster in the league. Like, he's put multiple guys in the league, first-round quarterback. Like, you're going to keep getting the top talent. That's all you can ask for is to be in it. And then, obviously you have to follow through and win it. But alas, 3 straight. It's a tough look at Ohio State. That's doesn't sit well up there. And I think the other thing, too, is, like, there's been some other, like, high-pressure situations where Day's said some pretty wacky stuff where you're just like, I don't know, dude, you seem kind of small time. Like, he's obviously a tremendous football coach. And I remember talking to some NFL guys that were like, yeah, I really like Ryan Day. He knows his stuff. And so if he were to get canned, he'd go somewhere else and he'd be probably successful. But if I was Ohio State, I'd be careful what I wish for. Especially, by the way, if Harbaugh might leave Michigan on his own.
Ooh.
If he's like about to get hammered by sanctions or whatever else, and he does the old Irish exit to the NFL, then like good luck getting a coach better than that. And at which point you probably have the better coach in the rivalry.
Yeah, either way.
So if I'm Ryan Day, I'm sure as hell hoping that Jim Harbaugh leaves. I'll put it that way. Him and his khakis can walk right out that door. Speaking of rivalry games, the Iron Bowl.
Oh my
Auburn.
gosh.
Have you seen some of the fan videos when the little sorority girlies, bless their hearts, they're taking their selfie videos of like, we're about to beat Alabama, and what it turns out is just absolutely soul-crushing video of the second craziest finish in Iron Bowl history. I mean, you can't beat the kick six. It was like a 109-yard kickoff return for a missed field goal return for a touchdown. That's as crazy as it gets. This was merely a 4th and 30 or whatever it was. It was 4th and goal from the 30, walk-off, touch, like, what?
To this day,
to the back corner of the end zone? Like, what are we talking about? Absolute chaos down on the plains. And what I always wonder with videos of like that, because I am focused clearly on the fans, the sorority girls and fraternity boys, who took their videos of what they thought were going to be joy, turned out to be pain, and decided to post it on the internet anyway. Do you just not, like, how many of those videos got deleted? And then what's the differentiator in people who decide to keep them and share them versus instantly delete, possibly throw phone off a bridge?
The people that posted it wanted to go viral, but also, Craig, sometimes you got to laugh at your own pain.
Yeah,
I think one of those videos,
Yeah.
you have to post it. You have to.
Yeah, you've captured something that is remarkable. Please share it with us. I don't disagree. I actually think that I would be one of the people that posts. Would you as well?
I think I would have posted it. I think so.
Locally, obviously Maryland, big win this weekend. They beat Rutgers 42-24. That is 7 wins in 3 straight years. That's the first time since 2001 to 03. So I know that Terps fans want to kind of take that next step. But as I've said, when people we'll be out at remotes and stuff, people are like, how about the Terps? And I'm like, Locks, just ride out with Locks as long as you can. Yeah. Let him keep building. And Maryland I just think sometimes programs need to accept who they are, which is if you can be a program that can occasionally win 10, but mostly wins 7 to 8 and reliably makes a bowl game, and your name is not Ohio State, Michigan, etc., I think you're doing pretty well.
Yeah.
And that's what Maryland's been able to do is some consistency. Congrats to Tagovailoa, Maryland's quarterback, Italia, Tua's little brother, obviously. Everybody around here knows that. Why did I do that? I wonder if he'll be at the game this weekend. I bet you he will be, watching his bro play down the road there from College Park to Landover. He's now the Big Ten's all-time leading passer. One Big Ten Offensive Player of the Week, 361, 3 touchdowns and a pick. And congrats to JMU, much deserved. They get their bowl eligibility, but they get their bowl game bid. The Bowl Alliance on Sunday morning announcing that JMU is going to a bowl game. They were declared eligible for selection because of the NCAA bylaws that state if there's not enough eligible teams for bowls, then you can go down a level or take a team that otherwise would be ineligible based off the rules, such as JMU. So they crushed Coastal Carolina. They're still a top 25 team, and now they get to go to a bowl. Good for JMU, and that's a lot easier resolution than the lawsuits that were pending. That is what else happened this weekend. When we also, by the way, college football news, very important to this radio show, Syracuse just hired a head coach. So that's cool. Let's get a small bio. It's Fran Brown, who, according to the release, Anthony, from Syracuse University, is the nation's #1 recruiter.
Wow.
He was ranked that by 24/7 Sports.
That's tough. Hey, that's good for Syracuse.
So he's Georgia's defensive backs coach, and now he's going to be the head coach of Syracuse football. So the coaching carousel is turning, and Syracuse got their guy. So let's go Orange. Let's start. Strike up the band. Let's go Orange. All right, when we get back, ESPN did something that I think is very, very cool. They put together an all-youngster team. So 2 deep on each side of the ball. Every player's under 24. The only problem is there's no commanders. Why is that a problem? Is that an ESPN miss, or is that a really damning, telling statistic about where this roster is? We will discuss next. The Hoffman Show on the Team 980 and always live on the free Odyssey app. Hoffman Show on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. You just heard the hour opener with Adam Amin, our good friend, who actually was texting with earlier today because he is in town to call the game this weekend. So Adam likely on the show on Friday. So we'll work out those details. But typically on a game week where Adam and Mark Schlereth are on the call, we try to have Adam on. I'll have to reach out to Stink too. Schlereth's always good. Maybe I'll try to see if he can do Take Command with me and Logan, because getting Logan and Stink together on a podcast would be a good time. We've been talking about doing it for a long time. So either way, stay tuned. Stay tuned for the programming this week. It's going to be as good as we can make it ahead of Dolphins and Mandos this weekend. And Anthony, let's just say my hopes are not high for that game.
Man, you're thinking differently than me. I'm thinking we pull off the upset. I'm so confident I will be going over to BetMGM to place my bet on the Dolphins.
Oh, you almost had me.
To cover whatever number it is.
Yeah. If the number's 35, would you feel good?
No.
On which side of it?
The Commanders.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. Actually, what is the number right now?
It's probably like 17 or something.
It's got to be at least that. Let's go. Where are the scores? Scores, Commanders. No, we need week 13, please.
What if it's a smelly fish, Craig?
It is a stinky fish. It's only 9.5.
Ron Rivera, defensive coordinator? Uh-oh.
I know Miami's not as good on the road. I'm probably going to actually make sure I swing by MGM and
dang, 9.5 is crazy.
Put down money on Miami. The Commanders can't stop the run, and Miami can't be stopped running it. I think Miami could win this game. This is a little bit hyperbolic, but like the way the two teams have played this year, they could win the game without throwing. And when they throw it, they have Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. It's gross, some of the stuff that they do in the run game, man. It's hopes are not high.
Yeah, speed kills.
Speed kills, and the Dolphins have plenty of it. They also have good young players, and the Commanders don't. Which brings us to snappy transition. ESPN's, they're calling this the all-youngster team, Anthony. It is a team, 44 players deep. Obviously, we're going to have to go very quickly through this. But 44 players deep to say, like, okay, who are the best players first and second string if we put together a team under the age of 24? First string quarterback, C.J. Stroud. Second team, Brock Purdy. This actually might be the position that the Commanders have the best case, assuming that Sam Howell still is not 24. And I think he is 23 still. Yeah, he's still 23. This is the position that I would actually say the Commanders might have the best gripe at. I'd be curious to see who like the next guy is. Would Sam be the third stringer here? Would they go someone like an Anthony Richardson or a Bryce Young based off talent and upside? What would you do there? Would Kenny Pickett be ahead because some of his numbers are a little better than Sam's, even though I would take Sam 10 times out of 10. But Stroud, Purdy tells you the state of young quarterbacks in the league too. There aren't a lot of them. And also, in fact, part of that is because there's been a bunch of pretty solid quarterbacks like previous to that, kind of the 24 to 28 range. You get your Herberts, your Lamars, your Burrows, your, all those dudes. Your Trevor Lawrences are all kind of in that range too. So it's a tough position to play young. Running back, no one. I mean, I guess Brian Robinson is not too far out here, although Brian Robinson is already 24. But Bijan is the first. Breece Hall is second. No qualms there.
Nope.
Wide receiver, you're looking at Jahan, who hasn't exactly been killing it this year. The guy that they traded out of taking with the Saints is on this list, Chris Olave, along with Jamar Chase, who's still 23, Garrett Wilson, George Pickens, and then Puka Nacua, Jordan Addison.
Good gracious.
Not great. Tight end, they don't have any young players that are good. They went Laporta and then Pitts. Left tackle, Panay Sewell, Charles Cross, obviously no one there. Left guard, Tyler Smith from Dallas, Peter Skoronski from Tennessee, Tyler Linderbaum from Baltimore, and Joe Tippmann, 2 centers. This is one where, like, if Stromberg plays well next year, could he bust through? Maybe. Just a 3rd-round pick at center, but not yet. Right guard. This is another one where maybe a couple years ago, if Sam Cosmi was, starting his career as opposed to being on his bounce back and forth ping pong position, maybe he could be in consideration, but he's 24 already and stuck behind Jamari Saylor and Osiris Torrance. And then right tackle, Darnell Wright, Paris Johnson. On the edge, obviously no one anymore. Just for reference, they went Aiden Hutchinson, Kayvon Thibodeau, which I think is interesting that Thibodeau apparently is playing consistently enough in their eyes to be there. But also a reminder how young he is. He's still 22.
He's 22?
Yeah.
Does he turn 20? He might turn 23 this year.
Yeah, he's got to.
That is crazy.
Also 22 is Will Anderson, who's just a rookie. And what's Thibodeau's, I guess, still only in his 2nd year. It feels like it's year 3, but he's only his 2nd year.
Yeah.
Will Anderson, 2nd team, and then George Karlaftis, 2nd team as well in Kansas City. And I think what's crazy is how many NFC East players there are, which becomes very apparent at defensive tackle, where the first team players are Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis.
Oh, they both play on the same team.
Yeah, and we see them twice a year.
Yeah. 2nd
team, Kalijah Cansey, Keanu Benton from Pittsburgh. Your linebackers, Nick Bolton, Quay Walker, Jack Campbell, Jack Sanborn, Ivan Pace, and Henry To'oto. Nowhere to be found there.
Nope.
Corners, Surtain, Sauce, Witherspoon, McDuffie from Kansas City.
Ooh, they got Witherspoon up. He's nasty.
He's nasty. I mean, this is one where, like, if Forbes was playing better, you have an option here. And then at safety, Hufunga, Kyle Hamilton, and Javon Holland, and then our guy from Syracuse, Andre Sisco. I think it's just, like, so painful. Is like there's not even anyone where you're like, yeah, that's a real snub. The Commanders just don't have dudes in the last couple of draft classes that are ballers.
Yeah, and a lot of these guys, like, a decent amount are just steals also. I mean, yeah, you have your first-round talents, but you got a couple of guys, Hufanga, you got Cisco, who fell to the 3rd round as well.
Well, that's the thing, is, like, people talk about, oh, they got to get a stud here, their first-round pick. Like, nah, you got to get it right.
Exactly.
From top to bottom. I mean, Howell might be the best pick that this regime has. He's a 5th-rounder. And if he's the guy, and you had taken him 1st overall, he'd still be the best pick.
Yeah.
So, like, for value, of course it matters, but it's also about just, like, part luck, part development, part scouting. Like, that's what it is. And making sure that you get guys that are crushing it in your system. I mean, Purdy's on this list. He was a literal last pick of the draft. But Kyle knew what he wanted. I don't think he knew he'd be this good, otherwise he wouldn't have waited that long.
Yeah.
So there is an element of luck involved in that. But, like, they didn't accidentally pick Brock Purdy and were like, well, they picked Brock Purdy because he's super smart and his processing speed was great. And they were like, I think with our system, we can potentially work with that. Did they know they'd work with it as a rookie? No. And they obviously thought they had their guy for the future in Lance, and they thought, oh, this guy will be a nice backup, good addition to the quarterback room. But there's a reason they drafted Brock Purdy, and it fits well with exactly what they do. And I don't think Purdy would be good. Not that he'd be terrible everywhere else, but he certainly wouldn't have what he's got in San Francisco. And by the way, he's also elevated by a hell of a group of teammates, which probably should tell you something about how teams build a roster. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app. We're streaming live on YouTube at the Team 980. And we're wrapping up next with Real Things Real People Said into real microphones. It's the Hoffman Show on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Wrapping up here on a Tuesday, Maryland Hoops coming up next. Naki Holiday, the gang on the call. So, Anthony, I have a very important question for you here on November 28th. Yeah, you. Have you finished all your Thanksgiving leftovers yet?
Yes. I finished it technically yesterday, actually.
Okay. How much did you have?
How many leftovers did I have?
Yeah, like did you have a lot? I mean, what was your Thanksgiving leftover situation first of all? Because like were you home for Thanksgiving? Like how'd you do your Thanksgiving meal? Because I know you traveled some, but I can't remember when and where.
Yeah, so we came back Wednesday, and my mom and my brother, they had done their grocery shopping before we left for vacation. We get back on Thursday, and they basically do all the cooking. And I probably had I had 2 to-go trays.
Okay, so you just had simple 2 to-go trays.
Yeah.
From mom's house.
Yep.
Yeah, so we cooked an entire turkey for 4 people, including one who was a pescatarian and didn't eat turkey. We had a lot of food. We had so much food. We had mac and cheese. We had mashed potatoes. We had sweet potato pie. We had Rachel found this cranberry cream pie that looked really pretty on Instagram and made it, and it was delicious. It was super weird, but you couldn't stop eating it. So there was that. There's a green bean dish. There was some Brussels sprouts, cornbread stuffing. And again, this is for 4 people at our house. So we sent people back. Well, one person had come in from New York, and so she couldn't take anything with her. We did send our other friend back with some leftovers, but mostly we just ate leftovers nonstop. And I finished them today. We are done. Well, we still have some mashed potatoes left because we made so many mashed potatoes.
Yeah.
But mac and cheese we ran out of this weekend. That was a big bummer. It's so good. The cornbread stuffing we ran out of this weekend. Finished off the turkey today. Finished off. I think I'm ready to say we're done with the mashed potatoes here.
Are you all turkeyed out and mashed
Yeah, I think I have my fill.
Yeah.
But there was never a point where I was sick of it. That's the thing. Is the Thanksgiving flavor combinations are so good. But I truly don't understand why we don't have them. I mean, I know they're some of it is because it's a big involved meal. Turkey especially, right? You have to cook an entire turkey. No.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. You're not doing that on anything but a holiday, in part because you don't have time. But you could theoretically make a stuffing or, mac and cheese could be a bigger part of your diet. Not we're going to get the Kraft out of a box, but you can make it. And I think we should do that as a society.
What is your favorite combo, though? Because mine is the mac and cheese candy yam combo. When those two things touch, whoo!
So
my goodness.
I that's a great question. I think the combination of a cornbread stuffing or a cornbread and mac and cheese, there's something about that works very well. Right. But I will say a stuffing cranberry sauce turkey and then the saltiness of a gravy.
Yeah.
That all happening, not necessarily in the same bite, but in multiple bites. That's the thing that screams Thanksgiving. And there is something to that too, of just oh, this is it. We're doing the thing. And it hits the right notes of flavor and nostalgia. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's something special about that.
All right.
Last question, very importantly. Canned or homemade cranberry sauce? Do you like the Jell-O comes out in the can?
I don't even eat cranberry sauce.
At all?
I don't eat stuffing either.
Oh. Yeah. I feel that was a popular hot take this year. A lot of what's the Thanksgiving dish that you hate? A lot of folks said stuffing.
Yes, stuff. It's the texture for me.
See,
I can't do it.
I'd be curious if you tried some different ones because the textures can be like stuffing can be a very wet. It's funny because also some people delineate between stuffing and dressing.
Mm-hmm.
It can be like a wetter texture or it can be drier. Like ours was a little drier this year because it was a cornbread. So lots of different options there. If it's a texture issue, we could fix the texture.
I don't think I want to dabble in it, to be honest. I don't like the texture, the taste.
Okay.
None of it. I am a anti-stuffing eater. Yeah. That's me.
Now that I'm starving, let's hit real things.
Real things.
We're not going to be sucked this year.
Real people.
5 and 11, not very good.
Said into real microphones.
You know, the culture is actually damn good.
We almost had a hand signal snafu there on our out times because where I'm set up right now, the camera was blocking Anthony.
Ooh, did you get it?
I got it.
Okay.
I got it. We have just under 4 minutes left in the show.
Yeah, more than enough.
All right. Time for real things. Starting with something that Vic sent me last night. Vic Ferreira, resident hockey lover, was watching a game, and everybody got thrown out. No, really. Everybody on the ice, see ya. This is how it sounded.
You're going to get a penalty. Number 7 has 2 minutes for goaltender interference, 2 minutes for roughing. Florida, number 12, has 2 minutes for roughing, and then every player on the ice has a 10-minute misconduct. Florida will have a 2-minute power play.
That's insane.
I always love when that stuff gets sorted out, and it's like, everybody's thrown out. 2-minute power play.
What does the box look like, though?
Vic sent me a picture of what the box looked like, though.
Yeah, I need to see what the box looked like. 'Cause I browsed Twitter for a little bit.
Well, it wasn't necessarily the box, though, because most of those dudes got thrown out, right?
Oh, I thought they said
no. 10-minute misconduct is like, see ya.
Oh, I thought they have to just wait in the box for 10 minutes. Oh, they got thrown out.
That's a good.
It's like an ejection almost.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
As far as I remember, I haven't done a lot of hockey. People know I'm not. It's like, hey, sports radio host, you should know your hockey penalties. Sorry, 10 minutes misconduct. Let's see, 10-minute penalty. Oh, maybe it is just a 10-minute penalty versus a game misconduct. Every player on the ice has 10-minute misconduct. The ruling is met with wows from the crowd in a game with fights are prevalent. Maybe it is just a 10-minute. But what happened was with all those players out and others having to serve penalties in the box and whatever happened, there's 4 dudes on the bench for Florida. So Vic was it was like beer league hockey where there weren't enough subs.
That is
so
hilarious.
Dudes just had to play a ton. So that's unfortunate for them.
Do you think the backup goalie was out there skating and trying to score goals?
I don't think so. That would be a weird, hey, go take off your goalie pads.
We only have 4 players. We need, a 5th.
We need you to get out there and skate.
That's hilarious.
That's we should have had. Honestly, we should have saved this and had Vic call in so we can get all the details.
Yeah.
Alas. Tyrese Maxey talking yesterday. Sixers beat the crap out of Lakers last night. LeBron does not seem particularly thrilled with how things are going in La La Land right now. But Tyrese Maxey talking about LeBron's work ethic.
Can you share exactly what happened? You showed up at 6, and he insisted on being there at 5:30.
Yeah, it was just workout was at 6. I get there early like always, 5:30 to stretch. Next time we work out at 6, he was there at 5 o'clock. When I walked in, he was in a full sweat. I said, "What's wrong? What are you doing?" And he was like, "I can't let you beat me to the gym." And I was like, "You're insane." He was in a full sweat, just had to do the whole lift. So that whole week he was trying to get there at 5, and I was like, I lift after this workout, so you got it, man. You win.
That's such a LeBron thing, man.
It is. I'm team Tyrese Maxey. Give me my sleep. I'll be there. That's early enough.
You got it, bro.
If you want to prove a point, you can. Especially when it's you, because you're a LeBron James. All right, we'll see you tomorrow. Maryland Hoops next. Hoffman Show on the Team 980.
This is DC's home for Maryland.